Hey everyone, I'm Michael, and this is another episode in my series, A Plant a Week. In this series, I talk about various houseplants. I highlight one for the whole video, talking about how to properly care for it, how to water it, how to propagate it, everything that you need to know to keep your plant healthy and happy. This plant is called Platycerium Bifurcatum. Platycerium Bifurcatum. Yeah, easy. Or the Staghorn Fern, and it's actually native to Australia. It's relatively easy to care for, and as such is becoming a popular houseplant in recent years. If you've ever watched any of Betsy Begonia's videos, she has some of these mounted on her wall, and they're stunning. Mine isn't mounted, as you can see, not because I didn't want to mount it, I've just failed every time I've mounted one of these. When I mount them, it leads to a slow and drawn-out death. So when I replaced my last dead staghorn, I thought I'd just leave it in the pot and see how that went. Turns out, a lot better. These plants are epiphytes. Whoa, did I just get that on the first try? Look at me go. Pronunciation king. Basically, that just means that in their natural habitat, they grow on other plants, usually trees. Because of this, they can grow mounted on cedar boards really well. It's similar to plants like Hoyas and orchids in that regard. The only big difference is that staghorns get big. I'm talking like humongous, like larger than any other plant you've got sitting around in your home. And when mounted, they can get pretty heavy. They actually hold onto trees and cedar boards with their shield fronds, large, flat, round leaves that sort of anchor its root ball to whatever it's clinging to. As you can see here, the shield fronds on mine are still kind of small. They will grow and eventually act like shields to the roots below. The leaves that stick out and have this beautiful bluish-green color are known as antler fronds. It's from these leaves that the plant gets its name because the fuzzy leaves look similar to the velvety antlers of stags. Spores will eventually grow on the lower of these fronds and look a little bit like brown fuzz. Do not remove the spores if you see them. It can damage the plant, and it's best to just leave them there. Most ferns don't need a lot of light. They tend to grow on the forest floor where little light gets through, so their delicate fronds can catch what filtered light it gets without being singed. That's not the case with a staghorn. Staghorns need bright, indirect light to thrive. They don't want to be in direct sunlight, but they do need a lot of sun in order to stay healthy. Make sure they're somewhere near a window where it gets a lot of diffused light. If you have a free north-facing window, you could even put it right in there, as northern light is typically less harsh than light from other directions. As far as watering goes, if you have your staghorn mounted, soak the whole plank in a sink for about 10 to 20 minutes until it's soaked enough water that the root ball would have been able to get a good drink. Let it drip dry and then hang it back up. You can do this about once a week during the growing season and once every 2 in the off season, but really it depends on how much light it's getting. It may need more water if it's in a brighter area. I have mine in a pot, so the watering is a little different. In fact, I don't even really water it, well, not like in a traditional sense. Every day I spray it with a spray bottle. I give it a nice soak until the water pools on the leaves, and that's it. I'll hold off on spraying it a lot during the winter, spraying it maybe once or twice a week, but that's what I've been doing since I got this plant almost a year ago, and it's continued to grow a lot since. I'm assuming staghorns aren't fussy about soil. When you mount them, you cover the root ball with a small amount of potting soil and orchid bark and then cover it up for the rest of its life, basically. I've never repotted this particular staghorn, but I'm sure once it's bigger and outgrows this pot, I'll have to figure something out. But I imagine it just wants to be in a well-draining soil like most tropicals. If you have this mounted on a plank, you probably won't be repotting it. Instead, when your staghorn grows, it's common practice to nail your current board to a larger one and just let it continue to devour space, continually feeding it all the wood in your house until your feeble attempts to contain it fails and it turns instead to your flesh devouring you bit by bit. Or something like that, so I've heard. You don't really need to fertilize your staghorns. When mounted, it's actually difficult to fertilize them. When they're younger, fertilizer does help to boost their growth, but once it gets larger and more mature, it doesn't really need to be fertilized at all. When propagating these, the easiest way is through division. In fact, it's the only real recommended way of propagating them because growing them from spores takes so long. If you want to divide your staghorn, take it out of its pot or off its mount, uproot it, and tear it apart. Something I am far too fearful to try on my own. Staghorns are very pest tolerant, and I've never had any problems with pests on any of my plants. Sure, okay, most of them have died, but never from any bugs or pests or disease, mostly because I don't really know why. Another pro of these plants are that they're non-toxic, so if you accidentally get one of their fuzzy fronds in your mouth while you're rubbing it on your cheeks, it's okay. It'd be weird, I imagine, but it's okay. Some people swear that these are super easy to care for. Others, like myself, kill them every single time. You might have success with a mounted one, or like me, be better off spraying your potted staghorn every day to see it grow. Either way, this strange looking but beautifully colored plant is definitely one of the more interesting ones that you can add to your plant collection. Thanks again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for similar content. On Mondays, I post videos about houseplants. And on Fridays, I also post videos about houseplants, and reading, writing, photography, art, and any other generic interests of mine. As always, you can find my social media links in the description below. Also, you can find links to H&H Games, the board game company I've helped create, and our debut board game, Season of Heroes. You can also find the Amazon links to my fantasy series, A Chronicle of Crowns. Thanks for watching, bye!